In this video, I propose to raise and answer some of the questions that many of you would want to ask regarding the raging Middle East war, in which the combined force of America and Israel is pitted against Iran. The very first question I'm sure that many Indians would be asking now is, why is it that Pakistan is preferred to India as the go-between in this effort to bring this unfortunate war to a close? Understandably, many in India are miffed at the fact that Pakistan has stolen the march over us. We think of ourselves as the Vishwaguru, but somehow in this particular context, when it comes to settling a war that is hurting the world as a whole, India is nowhere in the picture, and a country which is actually classified as a failed democracy, a country that is a virtual dictatorship in which a man called Field Marshal Munir is crushing the whole of Pakistan under his iron boots. Such a country, notorious in every imaginable way, is chosen in preference over India to be an agent of peace. Understandably, this is something far too much for Indians to stomach, and therefore the Zagreb psychology kicks in, and our very wise external affairs minister says India doesn't want to play the role of the Dalal. On the other hand, if instead of Pakistan we were called upon to do the same thing, we would have hailed it as a very legitimate and meaningful acknowledgement of the true stature of India on the global stage. This kind of hypocrisy is not unfamiliar. Therefore, I don't have to say anything more about it. But the fact remains that there is something to Pakistan being chosen to be the medium for bringing the two warring factions into some form of dialogue. What could be the consideration behind it? Of course, it is a fact that India's global image, or India's image in the global arena, has taken a severe beating in recent times, particularly in the last 12 years. Of that, there is no doubt, and there is no point in pretending that we don't know it or pretending that this is not the case. So our image today is at an all-time low, the lowest ever. There's no question about it. No one takes India seriously as an agent of peace, and no one really trusts India, particularly the countries in this region. Some of them may be doing some play acting as a matter of geopolitical compulsions. But given how the Muslims are treated in this country, and given also the fact that every detail is known worldwide, I cannot imagine that the mediation of India would be acceptable to the countries in this region, the Gulf Cooperation Council members. But that's not the main issue. That's not the main reason why Pakistan is preferred. Pakistan has no credentials better than India. In fact, Pakistan has no credentials that come anywhere near that of India. So that is really not the issue. To understand why Pakistan has been preferred to India, we have to really look at the big picture. And to understand that, we have to ask a further question. The question is, if tomorrow America decides to leave this region, the Middle East or West Asia, from whichever direction you look at this region, what will happen to the 5 countries, particularly the 5 countries in this region? Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar. What will happen to these countries? They'll all become satellites of Iran. Because none of these countries and all these 5 countries put together cannot stand up to Iran. There's no question about it. The moment, I'm not even saying the day, the moment America backs up from this region, all these 5 countries would become slave states, vassal states to Iran, and Iran will completely control this most crucial area in geopolitics. That's the inevitable outcome, the inevitable consequence of America backing up and leaving. That's also the reason why Iran is adamant that America should pack its bags and leave. And Iran says we will not accept anything less than the complete expulsion of America, or complete withdrawal of America from all its bases in this region. So, the only country in this region, or the only country which has good enough equations with countries in this region, and the only country which has the military muscle to match Iran, and the country which has the sole Islamic bomb is Pakistan. So that is Pakistan's credibility, Pakistan's role. In fact, this is a piece of clever thinking on the part of America. America is already thinking 10 steps ahead. The line of thinking is, if and when it becomes absolutely essential, inevitable for America to leave this region, a huge geopolitical vacuum will be created, and there should be a force that can move into and occupy that vacuum. And it cannot be Saudi Arabia, it cannot be any other country in this region, it can only be Pakistan. And in this context, please also remember the treaty that Pakistan signed with Saudi Arabia. All of us know the huge rivalry between Iran and Saudi Arabia. So if Saudi Arabia chose to sign a treaty, a defense treaty with Pakistan, almost on the analogy of clause 5 of the NATO memorandum, the idea is fairly obvious. In case it becomes absolutely essential for America to vacate this region, Pakistan will move into that vacuum, and the steps are already being initiated to prepare the way for it. So that is, to me, absolutely clear. So this is the reason why Pakistan is preferred. And if you understand this side of the situation, you as an Indian, or I as an Indian, or we as Indians have good reasons to feel relieved that in this context, it is Pakistan and not India that has been preferred. So I would like to thank President Donald Trump for sparing India. I believe this is a correct reading, though I don't know why it doesn't occur to others. That's the first issue, first question I want to raise and answer for you. The second issue is this: will this war end soon? There are some people who believe that the war will end today, tomorrow, or as Trump now says, 10 days from now. This is the third time he's revising the deadline. That tells its own story. I am convinced, indeed absolutely convinced, that this war is not going to end anytime soon unless America decides that it's too hot for that country to carry, and therefore it suits the best interest of America to leave this region and concentrate all its attention on the Western Hemisphere. But that's a long shot. America will suffer a serious setback to all its plans if it folds up from this region. Therefore, I don't reckon America deciding to vacate this region, wind up all its bases in this region, just like that. If America had any such inclination, it would not have launched in launched this war at all, it would have quietly packed and left. This region is far too crucial for American interests. It's been so for a long time to accept that option. As I did say in one of my very early videos, even the Kuwait war, Kuwait-Iraq war in the 90s, early 90s, was actually fomented by America because America wanted a complete control over the oil resources in this region. In that video, I quoted the statement by Jim Baker, who was the Secretary of State to senior Bush, George Bush, who said that we will not allow these monkeys to control the oil resources of the world. There is no change in this particular idea. After that, the principle, the pattern holds good even today. So, packing up and leaving is not an option for America. Or if at all it's an option, it's a very last option, when all other options are known to have completely evaporated. So, America is therefore adopting a maximalist position, raising a series of 15 demands. And, for example, Trump insists on zero enrichment of uranium, not even 3 or 4%. Iran has reached 60% or more. It's not only that they should scale down to 3 or 4%. Trump says 0% enrichment of uranium. Trump also wants Iran to give up on its missile program, if you want the American pronunciation, missile program, completely. I mean, not completely, but limits its range to 300 kilometers so that Iran cannot threaten the countries in this region, particularly Israel. America also wants Iran to stop funding, arming, and using its proxies in this region, all of which are actually meant to be used not only against Israel, but also against the American continued hegemony in this region. America wants Iran to give up control over Hormuz, and so on and so forth. And what is the Iranian position? Iran wants America to vacate. That's the number one. Iran wants all attacks, all aggression, all wars against Iran should stop forthwith, for now and for all times to come. Iran wants adequate war reparations, roughly estimated at $1 trillion. Now, on the face of it, you know that America is not going to accept this. Iran also wants Iran also wants the cessation of all hostile action against its proxies. So if you look at it, there's absolutely no meeting ground between America and Iran. And this is deliberate. This is deliberate. And it might be possible for us to say that this is deliberate so that maximalist positions will leave you with some elbow room to negotiate, compromise, and bring about some kind of rapprochement. But I really don't think that's the intention here. Here, the maximalist positions are adopted by both sides, particularly Iran, to make it impossible to come to a speedy conclusion of this war. Particularly Iran is keen to continue the war. Quite unlike what Trump says. Trump says they are begging of me, they're pleading with me, they're touching my feet. Whereas we see no evidence of that kind anywhere. Rather, Iran is sounding more and more confident, assertive, belligerent, and unrelenting. So, now, the reason is this. Why is this situation in this manner? If you want the right answer to this question, the right answer to the question as to why the war cannot end immediately in the manner that America wants it, just look at the Strait of Hormuz. Just look at the Strait of Hormuz. There you have the key to understanding this entire scenario. With one action, Iran has brought the whole global community to a standstill. It has managed to spread panic in several of the big countries of the world. It has managed to ruin Donald Trump's sleep. That is the geostrategic significance of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, if that be the significance of a narrow stretch of water, think of Iran getting complete control over these 5 GCC countries that I've already named, and Iran becoming such a huge influence in this region, which also includes the Strait of Hormuz. So Iran will control not only the Strait of Hormuz, but also Saudi Arabia, also Kuwait, also UAE, also Bahrain, also Qatar, maybe Oman. And what happens thereafter? Now here, to understand the situation a little further, we must look at BRICS. Ultimately, this is not a war between America and Iran, not at all. This is fundamentally a war between America and BRICS. Now here, we will soon come across a change. Now BRICS actually means Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This is going to change. India is really going to suffer the next humiliation in the sense that BRICS will incorporate Iran maybe in place of India. So it will read Brazil, Russia, China, Iran, South Africa. What will happen to India? From the perspective of Russia and China, surely Iran now is far more, 1,000 times more significant than India. That's a mere touch of realism. It's something that we have to accept, we have to realize. We are nowhere in the picture as far as Russia and China are concerned. We don't weigh even 1% of Iran as of today. So I wouldn't be surprised if BRICS tomorrow reads without India's name, or at best as a concession. A little space will be left for India so that BRICS will be BRICS. BRICS. So Iran, India, China, South Africa. Why? Because China and Russia know that if Iran can be made to prevail and enabled to become a regional superpower in this region, through Iran they can control this vast reservoir of global resources on which the entire economy of the world depends. Combine that with the military might of China, the industrial might of China, and the military muscle of Russia. That becomes the new center of the world. That will sound the death knell for American supremacy. Therefore, my friends, this is not a war which is regional. It is a global war. It's actually the Third World War. But it may not be recognized the Third World War in the sense in which First and Second World Wars were fought. This is a Third World War in the sense that this is a war that's going to affect the entire global situation to an unprecedented extent, perhaps even more radically and substantially than the first 2 world wars did. So therefore, Russia and China will not let Iran be beaten. Mark my words. And already they have revealed their hands. China is helping Iran. Russia is helping Iran. And if it is deemed absolutely essential, they may come directly into the picture. Donald Trump and the thinkers in the Pentagon know that this is a real outcome. There's a reason why they're pussyfooting the whole thing. Otherwise, can you imagine the President of America revising the deadline for ultimatums 3 times it shows that America is really rattled. First of all, in Operation Sindoor, China revealed a little bit of what it can do. That sent shivers through the entire Western Hemisphere. You will recall those days. And in the Iran war also, the Iranians are using Chinese intelligence to deadly effect. And with all the resources at the beck and call of China and the military might of Russia, is too much of a combination for America, particularly at this stage. Battle-weary, fatigued, internally divided and polarized America, which has already suffered a terrible decline in its ethical, cultural, moral, spiritual stature. America is at its lowest ebb. And I don't think America will emerge from this scenario unscathed. Therefore, I feel absolutely confident in my prediction that this war will not end soon. Even this 10-day extension of the deadline means nothing. Iran will continue to hold on to its hardened maximalist position, will render it more and more difficult for America to accept the terms and conditions raised, because Russia and China have together decided that this is the most appropriate time and the most ideal situation to publicly humiliate America, humiliate Trump, in which both countries have very keen interests. Unfortunately, Trump had to walk into this trap. But unlike others, I don't believe that Trump walked into it with his eyes closed. I know, and I believe that Trump was not entirely acting impulsively. Trump knew that he had to do it, but he thought, and that's where the mistake lay, he thought that he could bluster his way through. He could flex his muscles and make Iran to behave. He thought that Iran would be a slightly more difficult version of Venezuela. That's where he committed the mistake. He was absolutely right in diagnosing the fact that the Iran situation needed urgent attention, radical attention, but he went into it without adequate preparation. And that's exactly what Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, was saying, that Israel was anyway hell-bent on precipitated reaction, and the consequence of that would have affected American deployment in this region. Therefore, America also had to act preemptively. Therefore, we joined the war. The fact of the matter is that America could not have avoided military action in this region. Now, we have to wait and see as to up to what point America is willing to go. Given the battle fatigue that America is suffering from, given the fact that the people of America are enfeebled in their spirit, and largely because of the luxurious life they are leading, and therefore they are not willing to put up with any inconvenience, much less suffering. When the price of petrol goes up by a little bit, in America they begin to cry. Whereas here in Iran, thousands are displaced, millions are displaced, more than 3 million people are displaced. About 1,600 people have died, thousands and thousands have been wounded, thousands have lost their homes. They're taking the blow, they're showing the grit. This is where America is far, far inferior. So if you pit the American technology against the Iranian willpower, it's the willpower that prevails in history, and not technology. Technology is no match for the will of man. And that's a great thing. And therefore, I feel really sorry for Donald Trump. And this is good news for Modi if he understands it right. He should not feel miffed that Shahbaz Sharif and not Narendra Modi is playing this game. It's bad for Pakistan. It's good for us that we are out of it. But India needs to now think very seriously about how we should be positioning ourselves to face and to perform creditably in the emerging scenario. I propose to do a video on that. Therefore, let me not wander into that region at this stage. In this video, I've raised only two questions. Why is it that Pakistan is preferred to India as the go-between in this peace negotiations? A country that from all considerations is least suited to play that role, but there are very important geopolitical considerations, both now present and futuristic, that pointed in that direction, number one. Number two, this war is not going to end anytime soon. We have to prepare ourselves for a slightly longish haul. It could be 6 months, it could be 2 years, unless and until America comes to a conclusion that its best interests are served by packing up from this region and concentrating his attention, his agenda, and his pursuits elsewhere. So the only condition under which the war can be brought to a close is by an American humiliation. Mark my words, an American humiliation. Whether or not Trump and his gang are willing to swallow that, I do not know. But I do believe that the compulsions of history is not the might of Iran. It is not the strategic thinking of Russia and China. The logic of history will force America to withdraw. How soon? I don't know. But America will have to take its hands off. America will have to realize that the days are gone when it could have continued to play the global policeman. It doesn't have the grit to do it. It doesn't have the economic might to do it. It doesn't even have the technology to do it, much less the morale of the nation to do it. Thank you. All the best.